I talked to a student recently at one of our woke college campuses who said she is required in every class to introduce herself and to give her pronouns. Well, I'm Ted Cruz, and my pronoun is kiss my ass.
Hey there, man.
Hey, man, these technical difficulties are ridiculous. Sorry, folks. Just having some problems on the back end here.
Somebody having a bad Monday, I tell you. Welcome back to the Prepared Mind Studios, everyone. It is a fucked up Monday. I don't know what's wrong with YouTube, other than they're just full of shit and they're liars and hypocrites. And I have no idea what's wrong with StreamYard screwing up my presentations. It's becoming quite a festival of stupidity. Anyways, we are live here in studio. I think this is Studio R for the R Syndicate. That's right, folks. And we're going to talk about what is going on around the country, around the world, in your neck of the woods, your lives. It has hit the fan, folks. I don't know who to trust. I don't know who to believe. I don't know what the hell is going on, except it is going bad and it is going south. Now, speaking of south, let's just slip right into our top story. Top story? Top story. All righty, we've got Representative Republican Marjorie Taylor Greene out of Georgia is calling for a separation between the red and the blue states. That is the Republican and the Democrat states. Now, Big Marge, as she used to be called, has really made quite a mistake in my world. Right? She shit on patriots. She crapped on the Make America Great Again, America First types. Talked shit about people who did not support the absolute dickhead of a rhino out of California who is now the Speaker of House. Right, Kevin McCarthy. I don't trust that guy farther than I can kick him. I can't trust him farther than I can shoot him out of a cannon. Really, folks, really. Anyways, Marge Taylor Greene is trying to claw her way back into the credibility zone. And I don't give her credibility, but she's trying. And I want to cover the story because I think it is indicative of how we feel. But I don't trust her. She said Monday morning, folks, trying to send some shockwaves through Congress. She called for a national divorce. She says, we need a national divorce. We need to separate by red states and blue states and shrink the federal government. This is what she said, and this is what she claims now. Everyone I talk to says this, from the sick and disgusting woke culture issues shoved down our throats to the Democrats' traitorous America Last policies. We are done. Well, then why the fuck did she side with Kevin McCarthy, who is not impeaching Joe Biden as we speak? Not impeaching Joe Biden. Yeah, I agree with her that the left is sick and disgusting and that their woke culture is a big pile of shit and they are trying to ram it down our throats or up our sphincters. And I think the Joe Biden, Nancy Pelosi, Chuck Schumer policies are America Last and that they are traitorous. Now, the only way I think Marge Taylor Greene, and I'm just throwing this out as an aside, and then I'll get back to the topic at hand. The only way she can redeem herself in my book is to go down in flames. An act of, let me just phrase it this way. She needs to commit an act of seeming suicide politically and go after McCarthy and accuse him of being weak because he is, and accuse him of sitting on his hands because he is, and say he's doing his job, well, less than piss poor because he is, and that he has a duty to impeach President Biden because he does. She needs to put him back on the hot seat. She voted for him. She needs to put him on the hot seat. Turn the fucking heat up. And that could be considered political suicide going against Herr Bunghole McCarthy. Now, back to this idea of divorce. Folks, divorce means separation, means, well, exactly what it means. Exactly what happened back in the 1860s when the South said, you know what, we're done. We're going to separate. We're going to dissolve the Union. Is it now this is the question. Is the Union, the United States of America, is it compulsory or is it voluntary? If it's compulsory, then we are servitudes and serfs to Washington, D.C. If we have no choice and we're not allowed free association, then this isn't a free United States of America. No, it is a compulsory one. One that is held together with bullets, band-aids, and bad attitudes out of those with supreme power. Right? If it's voluntary, then let us leave. If it's not, then we have what we have on our hands, and that is truly a war for our freedom. Now, she says we need to separate the red and blue states and shrink the federal government. Well, if you separate us, what is there going to be? A social fascist system for the blue states and freedom for the red states? There's going to be two constitutions. The blue states are going to be where there's no First Amendment, there's no Second Amendment, there's no Fourth or Fifth, there's no Sixth or Seventh, there's no Eighth, Ninth, or 10th Amendments. Did I forget the third? Where the Constitution doesn't guarantee a Republican form of government. That's the blue states, and the red states are what? Where we're just a couple of votes away from becoming a blue state. But until then, you can pretend you have a first, a second, a fourth, a fifth, et cetera, et cetera. Because that's what we're doing right now is we're pretending we have a constitution. And we're pretending we have a Bill of Rights. And we're pretending that the Declaration of Independence matters. Because people are just pretending to be patriotic out there. Now, if you are a true patriot, you will be prepared because you know what is coming. Your history lessons should be front page news every day. What King George did, what other kings of England did, what King Louis did to his own people, and other French kings and dictators have done. What communist leaders in Russia or the Soviet Union and China, as well as, well, non-benevolent dictators like Mussolini and, of course, Hitler. Are you prepared to deal with those people in your lives, or are you prepared to bend over? I really like the idea of telling him to kiss my ass and going down like a man, fighting. If Marge Taylor Greene wants to start sounding like she wants to separate, oh, they're going to call that an insurrection. Right? What makes these fucking people think they own us? What makes DC thinks they own every state and no one's allowed to leave? Let me just put it to you this way. If you're in a marriage and your spouse is abusing you, do you have a right to leave? Or are you stuck because you said, let's get married? That's essentially what being in this union is about. And here we are. And it is an absolute disaster what we're dealing with. Get your questions in, folks. Get them in because we're going to talk about everything that needs to be talked about. Oh man, I'm sending a message through to here, and that's where we're going to do our back channel discussions. Now, what do you think, folks? This is the top story. A national divorce. Is it possible? Or is this something that they want to float out there? A trial balloon to see how many Americans want it, and so they can look at you and say, you're nonconformist. You're a separatist. Remember, they killed Randy Weaver's wife and his baby by calling them separatists. looking at the stats. She had a little, Marjorie Taylor Greene had a little, what do we call this? Poll. 47% said stay together. 43% said, yes, we need to split. And 9.5%, 9.33% said undecided. There's your typical breakdown in this fucking country. You got 10% who can't make up their fucking minds until they see who the winner's going to be. All right. I don't think we need to have a war to separate from the United States government. I think we ought to just say, you know what? We're done with you. Here are the divorce decrees. You're fucking done. Is Texas an independent republic? Is Georgia free to make its own decisions? Now, can any one state stand alone? No. No one state can stand alone except maybe Texas. But that's how it is around the world. There are small nations everywhere that have to rely on what? Now get this. I'm going to take it to this place and then we'll just move on. Small countries around the world have to rely on being a fair business and trading partner with the countries around them to get the energy, to get the food, to get the natural resources, because they don't all have what they need to get by. And so they rely on other countries, and they have to behave themselves, and they have to bargain fairly and be honest. Well, the United States doesn't do that. Sorry to say. We have lots of energy, lots of natural resources, lots of food. And so the government thinks it can hold everyone together by force and threat of violent force, so that they can maintain that stranglehold over this country and then use that as muscle against the rest of the world. And folks, right now, the rest of the world has had it with that shit. That is why Russia is allied with China, is allied with Turkey, is allied with India, is allied with South Africa, is allied with Brazil, is allied with now a couple dozen countries. Big countries, folks. Oil-producing countries, manufacturing countries, farming countries. They're joining the BRICS Union, which is a cooperative union of countries around the world wanting to move away from the United States government in D.C. and its stranglehold on them by forming alliances with each other and saying, okay, we don't need the U.S. We don't need Europe and all their shit. This is happening. It's going to cause economic turmoil. Are you prepared? Because it's going to be a process. Turmoil doesn't last today, then everything's fine. Right? How long did it take us to get into Afghanistan and then to get the hell out? Well, it took years to get in there proper. Years of work, and it took Biden about 5 seconds to get out. Whew, I tell you, we ought to be able to get out of this union in about 5 seconds and say, how many other states want to do this? And I guarantee there'd be Texas, Louisiana, Mississippi, Georgia, Florida, the Carolinas, Tennessee, Kentucky, probably West Virginia, Missouri. Oh, you bet. There'd be a shit pile of states that want to join that. And can you blame them? It's called free association. Why is it that the United States government says, well, if you're in Iraq, you want free association. You don't have to put up with Saddam Hussein. Right? He's a violent dictator. Right? All he does is use force to hurt his people. Where have I heard of that before? You see Nazis, communists, and yeah, everyone who's in charge now. Unbelievable. Okay, get your questions down below. I stayed on that subject because it's important, folks. This is something we've talked about off and on for years. Big Marge wants to bring it up. Okay, give me some credibility there, Marge. Go after McCarthy. Where is the impeachment? She's talking about the United States of America dissolving the union. And if we dissolve the union, I couldn't give a shit how big the federal government is in D.C. because it's no longer my federal government if my state leaves the union. All right, let's do this. I just want to step it on down a little bit. Let's take a peek over at this. Yes, yes, and yes. A judge has dismissed a lawsuit. Well, Black Lives Matter, folks. BLM. Their shirts were banned in a Georgia school district. So a judge says, "Oh, you're upset about that, BLM?" So they filed a lawsuit, and it got thrown out. Folks, terror organizations should be allowed to promote more terror, right? That's literally what we have here. It's not a free speech issue. Black Lives Matter and that organization pushed and pushed and pushed and caused over $4 billion in damage. It wasn't just one city, it was across the country. Police, courtrooms, public buildings, private businesses, private citizens had their property destroyed, stolen, burned, and people were murdered by BLM. Why? Because a convicted felon decided to OD on drugs and die while being arrested. That is exactly what happened there. Sugarcoat it all you want, but these terror organizations need to be labeled terror organizations. Now, is BLM representing states? Right? What is their political affiliation? What do they say they are? Well, they're concerned with black transsexuals, they say. They have Marxist roots and belief systems. Marxism, communist. That's not American. And it is certainly not a, what are we going to call this? It is certainly not anywhere close in any state to being a majority held opinion. And if their main way of getting their way is violence and threats of violence, now think about where we're at today, folks. Remember all those cops who took a knee? National Guardsmen took a knee. In other words, bowed down and sucked it on the BLM. How stupid do they feel now? Taking a knee and acting all conciliatory towards a bunch of fucking terrorists? I don't think so. I really don't, folks. I'm kind of pissed off today, in case you hadn't noticed. So, speaking of freaking communists, this is a big fat duh. Bernie Sanders. Everyone gets everything for free. Well, unless you come to one of my book signings. He is charging $95, folks, for tickets to his, get this, his anti-capitalism book tour. He is an anti-capitalist, but he's charging money. Well, dickhead, if you are an anti-capitalist, you should give it to everybody for free. $95 to listen to a fossilized communist. All he did was promise to young people that he would forgive their student loan debt and that everyone would have shit for lives and we would all be the same. That's all he has done, is promised equal misery and, of course, forgiving everyone's debt. It's unbelievable. It's fucking unbelievable to me that these kids who went into adult babysitting, that they took a loan out to pay for. Imagine that. I don't want to work for 4 years, so I'm going to take out loans so I can pretend to be a child in school so that I can live in a shitty housing environment, pay way too much for all of it, and party like party like whatever, like a high schooler. I get it. They just got out of high school, and that's what they wanted, and that's what they got, and that's what they paid for, and now they're upset. Now they're upset. They want to be forgiven of all the debt. Well, I'm sorry. If I made a bad decision, you don't get forgiven for it, right? By the way, there was another 6.4 earthquake that smacked Turkey, collapsed more buildings. Not a good scene in Turkey, folks. Not at all. Here we are in America fighting about, freedom and liberty. Shouldn't we be concerned about Turkey? Shouldn't we give a shit about Turkey? Of course. It's just too bad our country is being crushed, not by earthquakes, but by the scumbags in Washington, D.C. Now, the hypocrisy and stupidity, folks, is unbelievable. Wait till you hear this.
Yay!
Unbelievably stupid, unbelievably arrogant, unbelievably disgraceful. Spokesperson for the Biden regime has come out. Mr. Blinken has warned China against providing aid to Russia in its war against Ukraine. Folks, the U.S. government in Washington, D.C. is off its fucking rocker here. Doesn't Washington, D.C. and the Democrats there know that Russia and China are military as well as financial or economic allies? Haven't they figured that out yet? Haven't they? The whole BRICS, right? Brazil, Russia, India, China, plus another several dozen countries, 3 dozen countries, however many it is now. Yeah. They're tied together. Isn't Washington, D.C. aware that they in D.C. are funding and supporting someone as a proxy? That would be Ukraine, to fight against Russia. They have admitted it. They've come out and said, yeah, we're fighting Russia, but we're using Ukraine. They're aware that they're doing that. They know what they're doing in D.C., but China can't choose to do the same for their side? Does Washington, D.C., does Joe Biden think that they can tell China what to do? I don't know. To me, it would be, I think, wonderful if we could tell China what to do, and China had to listen. If we said, China, you need to stop treating your minorities badly. Let them out of their prisons. China, you have to allow free speech. China, you have to allow people to defend themselves, Second Amendment style. China, you have to respect people's individual rights. China, right, you have to stop polluting the planet the way you are. You need to clean your shit up. And what if China had to do what we say? Well, they don't. DC cannot tell China what to do. In fact, China basically tells DC what to do. Now, does the U.S. government, does Joe Biden actually think that China gives a shit what the people in DC think? China doesn't care. Why should they? Now, get this. Blinken also tells China that the balloon surveillance must, quote, never again occur. Beijing's response? Well, you guys used excessive use of force. Yeah, excessive use of force. Well, it should have been just enough force to shoot down a rival country's balloon that is not just flying over random parts of the country, but rather right over the top of sensitive nuclear military installations. Now, in the United States of America, the citizens that live here, patriots, it doesn't matter. You're not allowed to fly a drone anywhere near a military installation or an airport. So what makes China think they can float a balloon anywhere they want, especially over a nuclear base? China offers no apology, and why should they? Why should China offer an apology to the U.S.? Why should the U.S. offer any apology to China? These people are asking for World War III. They're fucking idiots. Yes, they are. All right, it is Monday, and we had Zero Dark 30 was released very late in the day. Like I said, we've been having trouble with everything internet related. I wonder why. Now, did you know that today Joe Biden snuck out of Germany and flew into, drum roll please, That's right. Joe Biden did not make a surprise trip to Ohio. He did not make a surprise trip to the southern border of the United States. He made a surprise trip to Kiev, Ukraine, to meet and do photos with Voldemort Zelensky, aka Slobodan Zelensky. Right? And while there, folks, while hanging out with Zelensky, an air raid went off, air raid siren. And what are air raid sirens? What are they supposed to indicate? We're being attacked. Missiles, airplanes, satellites, aliens, whatever. But no one made a rush for cover. Are we supposed to believe that Zelensky and Biden are so brave that they don't have to obey air raid sirens? They're like General McCarthy on the battlefield, standing up while everyone else is crouching down, while bombs and missiles explode in the air around them. They don't care because they're so macho. Are you telling me that 5'8" Zelensky is just so freaking macho he can't help himself? No one ran for cover. So what was the dunderhead in chief doing? What was Potato Joe doing in Kiev? Well, he was there to promise more money to Zelensky. That's right. Former actor, entertainer, singer, and bedroom toy Zelensky, right, is turned president, and now he's telling the world exactly, how they need to help him and give him money. So Joe Biden says, oh yeah, we're going to give you lots of money. Promising more money to Zelensky. How does that sound if you're an American? I'm starting to run into people now who are feeling, even in the South, are starting to feel the effects of the Biden economy in a big, big, big way. Not just inflation, though they feel it that way. But they're losing jobs. They're becoming fearful of losing their jobs. We're watching thousands of people be laid off from these crappy ass jobs, folks, because all of our good manufacturing has gone overseas. I think that is an act of, if not treason, it's an un-American act for a corporation to send business overseas to continue to enrich themselves while taking away Americans' jobs. And the jobs that are left here, they're menial jobs, and they're being replaced with robots in Amazon warehouses. Remember when Amazon was it 15,000 or 18,000 people, man? It was a lot of people who lost their jobs in Amazon and Microsoft. All of these companies just got rid of people. It's funny how at the same time we're hearing about AI and we're hearing about robot technology, from fast food to warehouse to retail jobs. People in stores are now checking themselves out. They're scanning their own shit and having to use a credit card or to pay. That's right. They're fucking us over, folks. They're pissing down our backs and they're telling us it's raining and it's good for you. So there we are, right? Have you got your questions into Uman? I sure hope you have, folks. I sure hope you have. We got a lot to talk about here. All righty. Get this, folks. Near Hawaii, a large white balloon has been spotted. A month ago, who would have given a shit? It's a big old balloon. Now people wonder, is that a spy balloon? Is that a UFO, right? Is it a weather balloon? Is it owned by civilians or children? Is it military? What the hell? Yep, a white balloon spotted near Hawaii. Near Hawaii. I looked at the map. Fucking balloon looks like it's 100 miles north of Hawaii. Well, sure, it got spotted by what, an airplane? Commercial airline flying to California from Hawaii? Oh, that makes sense, I guess. Hey, thank you, Jolene. Good to see you checked in. It's been one heck of a day for everyone. All right. It has been one hell of a day, folks. So, what do you think the white balloon was that's near Hawaii? Hawaii. I think they do a lot of weather stuff there. How much you want to bet? Yeah, now everyone is like Chicken Little. They're seeing the acorns falling everywhere. Unbelievable. Oh my gosh. What do we want to look at now? What do we want to look at now? I need to be in the right email program when I send out invitations for meetings. Okay, let's do this. Let's do this. Unbelievable. This happened, and I got to be careful. Got to be careful. Shh. A student collapsed at a basketball game, and a defibrillator was used to revive him. Is this the new normal? They want us to believe it's normal. Well, you know, some things have changed, but we don't know what caused it, right? Or can you take a guess and really figure it out? Yeah, we know exactly what caused this. Another student, another super athlete, and they used a defibrillator. Defibrillators, folks, are used to reset the heart. The thing that pumps blood, that keeps you alive. Why are hearts just stopping? They're just stopping. Unbelievable. Yeah. So we've got this, right? The Biden regime, and I talked about this earlier in the Zero Dark 30. The Biden regime wants to make a legally binding deal to give the WHO full authority over the United States pandemic policies. And no Senate approval is needed. The United States government has no control over the states, folks. I don't care what people think they read in the Constitution. We're guaranteed a Republican form of government. We have a right to govern ourselves. We do not have to acquiesce to any law that is repugnant to our nature. That is to say that any law that violates our rights, whether explicitly or implicitly, right? Whether or not they like it, we don't have to obey anything. Yet, what do we have? We have a government out of control that says it doesn't even need to have the Senate vote on treaty. Right? Anything that violates the Constitution, folks, is on its face failed. Yet now the president thinks that he can negotiate a deal that doesn't need the Senate, that is binding upon the entire country, whether we like it or not. Well, I think Marge Taylor Greene is right. We do need a divorce. Now, the question is it going to be one of those nice divorces where people are like, yeah, I guess we're done with each other. Let's just go our separate ways. That would be best. But oftentimes, and I know this personally, divorces go awfully awry. With one person saying, I'm done, and the other person saying, I'm going to attack you until, right, you are dead. Unbelievable what these people think, folks. Nothing that Biden does is binding, and nothing the Senate can do can undo our sovereignty, our rights, or anything. Read the Constitution. Common sense. How is it that we can pass a set of rules, the Constitution, that says that our rules no longer matter? Then what's the point of having authority over yourself in the first place if you can just fucking give it away to an international body? In fact, why would you give away your rights? How can you give away your rights to another nation or organization that doesn't even understand what rights are? Other countries, they consider free speech. They consider that a privilege that the government gives people. The United States is way different. We say it came from God. So fuck you, DC. You only exist, DC, because we have created you. And it is through our authority that you have been granted your little bit of authority. We have all the authority. You have a little. But over time, the U.S. government thinks it has all of this growing authority, while we're supposed to believe that our rights shrink until they just don't exist anymore. All right, enough of me. It is now time for you guys. Let us do this. Let's go to Ask John Live. I tell you what, you guys need to make sure you're subscribed to all the Prepared Mind channels. In the description of this video, at the very bottom, are all the Prepared Mind channels. Subscribe to them and hit the bell on all of them. Let's do this. Jolene, let's get into some questiones. Bonnie Blue says, didn't statehood become compulsory when President Lincoln sent his Union Army into the CSA states? That's the Confederate States of America. That was an invasion of a group of states that had declared independence. That is absolutely correct. We went from these United States to the United States. That's right. They changed the Constitution. They also made the subject line, the header, all caps, making it a corporate document. The Act of 1871 was an act of cowardice and treason and sneaky shittiness. Now, if you are being held captive in a house, chained to a chair, right? You are slave. If you can, by some chance, get out of those handcuffs and get out of that house and get free, you are free. Now, today in this world, what would the rest of the planet say if the South said, no more, we want to get away from DC. We want to separate and form our own country. Well, isn't that what the United States has done, has helped other nations free themselves from tyranny? So wouldn't the rest of the world look at the United States and go, whoa, we got a problem here. Those people don't like DC. They want to be free. Oh, that would cause allies to become strange bedfellows to us. Would Russia support that? Would China support that? Ask yourself that question. Or would China say, yeah, we'll help you, but now you got to be a part of us? Or would we say, you know what, fuck you, China. We don't need you or Russia or anyone else. Because once we partner up with you, then the abuse comes the other way. Can we even trust our state governments to lead? Are they statesmen? Or are they just people there to act powerful and impress their families, make a name for themselves and line their feathers, or line their nests, right? Feather their nests. We do have some serious problems around the world, folks. I would love for the United States to be free. But yeah, these communists out there, they're making life extremely difficult. I could, folks, go back to the RMZ. It would cost me a grand total of about $10,000. $10,000 to go back again to the RMZ and live a relatively peaceful, carefree life. But instead, I choose to be right here with you guys in the thick of the shit, ready to take whatever is thrown our way. Because that's how I am, folks. I love this country. This country meaning these United States of America. These United States of America, my country. It's worth fighting for. We may have to. I'm ready for it. Let's do this. Let's do more questions. Bonnie Blue says, we, the states, need to stop acting like the abused wife who keeps returning to the abuser every election after more empty promises are made. That's right. Right? The abusive spouse, be it man or woman, getting bitch slapped. Bam, 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 right? Doing the bitch slap. Bam. Oh, I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. Well, I'll stop. We won't do that anymore. That's only said when the wife or the abused husband says, you know what, I'm leaving. Oh, no, I guess we made a mistake. We'll stop that. Well, I promise, right? They used to promise that, folks. They used to promise freedom and liberty at every election. And in 2016, I was like, nobody, not Hillary and not Trump, were talking about freedom or liberty. They didn't even pretend to care about liberty and freedom. I was like, now we have a serious freaking problem. You can tell it's a serious problem. Right. Today is just not a good day for me. I tell you, I could take a bite out of these fucking people, folks. Not threatening. Oh, I'm making satirical jokes. Everyone at YouTube, calm down. Go in the closet and hug a teddy bear, you bunch of pansies. All right. Let's move on. Jolene, who do we have next? We have Orlando. And he says this: months prior, a TV show showed a plane flying into a New York building. Then 9/11 happened. The movie Knowing showed a chemical fire on a train in Ohio, and now it's happening. This is predictive programming at its best. What say you, John? Am I right? I'm going to say yes. Now, is it chicken or the egg? Does someone go, you know what? I've got a great idea. Let's have a train full of extremely toxic, nasty, fucked up chemicals crash. And then we'll use that to create a disaster that the government can benefit by either ignoring it or claiming more power for itself. They said, you know what? Let's make a movie out of that so that people can start to think about how they would react to it. So when it happens, we can influence their behavior by showing what the actors on TV or in the movies would do. Or is it the other way? There's just really creative writers going, you know what would be a really fucked up situation? Is if a train wrecked and spilled chemicals everywhere that were going to pollute the Ohio River Valley and fuck up the watershed and give people all kinds of health issues, including long-term cancer problems. That'd be just an awful, awful disaster movie. Probably put bums in seats. And the government's like, we saw that movie, and that was really inspirational. Let's make that happen. I don't know, chicken or egg or chicken. Either way, and any way you look at it, yeah, predictive programming can be used to influence people's thoughts. Now imagine this. Imagine if every movie started with, there's a disaster, and it ended with the people taking their guns and going to the state courthouse and saying, you, governor, are going to fix this the right way, or we're going to throw you out of office and take control of our government back from you. And the government does what he's supposed to do in that movie. Or the government says, I ain't doing nothing. And so the people take him out and go hang him. And then have a new election and put a government in place that does what it's supposed to. If every movie ended one of those two ways, the government people would be like, every time the people get to watch a movie, they're seeing themselves as the heroes and telling government what to do. Well, that's just the way it's supposed to be. We are supposed to tell the government what to do. And we enforce that every election is how it's supposed to work. But every election, yes, they go to the abused spouse and say, we're so sorry. We're going to give you money. We're so sorry. We'll take care of the problems. We're so sorry. We're going to fix all of these issues that we, the government, have created. And then they don't. And then they start beating us with a fucking stick over the head again. How long until the people learn? Well, a lot of folks say that the abused spouse, be it man or woman, thinks and begins to think it's their fault. That the reason they're being abused by their spouse is because they have messed up. And only if they tried harder would that abusive spouse quit abusing them. So that's what we do. If only we would just try harder and work hard and pay our taxes. If we just obey the next law they pass, they'll quit passing abusive laws. See the similarity? We are the abused spouses, folks, the people. And we are the ones who are enabling government. This is why I say you need to stand up, prep to action. And tell the government now, not during the election when you actually have the least amount of power, but after the election when 99% of people go the fuck away and pretend like everything's fine. This is when you bitching and complaining and threatening the government saying, we're tired of your shit. I'm going to vote you out of office. I'm tired of your shit. We're going to do a recall. That's when your vote matters even more – because 99% of people go away and hide. So it is those who are politically active after an election have more power to influence. That's why I say write, call, text, email, fucking smoke signals, carrier pigeon, string tying a note to a frickin' arrow. Get your messages to these clowns and say, we're watching you and we're going to throw you out of office. You're a pile of shit unless you straighten the fuck up. That would be nice, huh? That would be nice. That sure would be nice. I got something for you. Well, folks, a man has collapsed during the Arizona Marathon. That's right. This man has died doing what he always does, running. Should chefs die while chefing in the kitchen? Should children die while doing what kids do? Apparently, the answer is now yes. Just living your normal life that you've conditioned yourself for should result in the death penalty. Can you believe this, folks? The Forbes 30 under 30 honoree. That means this dude was kind of famous, right? Collapses, dies during a marathon. It's not like they took some fat fucking slob off his couch, right? And said, you go run 26.2 miles. This is a marathon runner, right? He's a Forbes honoree. You know, he's a businessman. He's in shape. He's young, yada, yada, yada. So here we are, folks. Take a wild guess. Goes right in the Pfizer files. Thank you, Pfizer. Nice job. Thank you, Fauci. Good work. All right, Jolene, who is next on the Prepared Mind channel? It is the Charlanator. She says, if the New World Order gets their one world government, would that mean no more wars between countries? Yes and no. Yeah, do you think that a one world government telling everyone what to do is going to result in peace? No. If you think it means prosperity, hardy har har, not a fucking chance. Their idea, folks, of the world doing what they say means no more meat, eat some bugs. No more heat, wear more clothes. No more population. You can only breed if we allow, or we do in vitro fertilization in labs. No more even being fertile. Eat your soy, you bunch of homos. That's their idea of control. Now, if they need a war, once again, it's the New World Order. It's their government, their one world government. If they need a war, they create a war. Folks, there's always been that dynamic between the uber elite needing a war to get rid of population, needing a war so that they can have some conquest and they got some bragging rights. That's how it's always been in government. It always serves whoever thinks they're the top dog. They create wars. They create wars to destroy economies, to cleanse economies, to cleanse people, right? They call it cleansing. They want to cleanse the planet. What do you think the Jim Jones juice is all about? You think they're trying to help humanity? Well, if you believe that, right, you've got a problem. If you believe that. They don't care about us. They don't. It's about them and what they want. If they decide that they want to get rid of a nation's people, well, they just have that government do something stupid. Right? They cause war to happen. Unbelievable. Yeah, don't fall for it. It is not about peace. When they say peace, expect more war. I don't believe anything governments say. Look at who's in charge of governments. Right? Boris Johnson and every English prime minister. Justin Trudeau, the little traitorous piece of shit. Joe Biden, the old traitorous piece of shit. Someone from an NGO like George Soros, or Zark Muckerberg, or Beth Jesus, any of those scumbags. Right? I wonder about Elon Musk. What is he really thinking? I wonder about everybody. I don't trust any of them because it's not getting better. Nothing is being fixed. Things are getting worse. And that's why I'm a prepper. Now, what is it that we're doing? We're going absolutely in the wrong direction, away from freedom. And as we get further and further away from freedom, we're losing our prosperity at the same rate. So as freedom goes down, prosperity goes down with it. When nations are free, the people prosper. So if everything's going down right now, it's the consequence of the lack of freedom, the lack of the people being served by their governments. Do you really believe that anyone in DC gives an actual fuck about this country? Or do you think they're there for themselves, to become famous or rich or powerful? I don't believe they give a shit about us in any way, form, or fashion. Call me cynical, if you will. But my cynicism is supported by decades of observation of the current government and a study of centuries of government behavior. Let us move on. Jolene, who wants to throw something out there next? It is Charles Gentry. And he says, try this again. Anti-capitalism can only exist in the presence of capitalism. Well, that's interesting. Try this again. Anti-capitalism can only exist in the presence of capitalism. How about this? Anti-capitalism can exist in the presence of the emergence of capitalism. So if you've got an anti-capitalist system, communism, and it makes the mistake of allowing free speech and the concept of capitalism to flourish, then the anti-capitalists have to come back out and squash it. Or in the presence of capitalism, anti-capitalism begins to destroy and erode it. Right? The capitalism, it exists like this today. 10 years ago, it was this. 20 years ago, it was this. 50 years ago, capitalism was huge, but it's been slowly eroding away by the behind-the-scenes anti-capitalist antics of colleges, courts, legislatures, and executives at the state, federal, and even corporate level. And as they have gotten, I would say, the balance of power or the majority of power, they've gone past that 50% line, they've just passed it, and they come out of their shell and they start getting loud and obnoxious and violent. Anti-capitalism only exists when there's, any amount of true capitalism. Because if there is no capitalism, there's no reason to have anti-capitalism. Well, at least in its, shall we say, vociferous form, attacking everyone else. If there's nothing left to attack as far as capitalism goes, then anti-capitalism is one. Right? The absence of an enemy creates the appearance of peace. We're not fighting anyone. So communism is working, right? What's your prosperity level under communism? It's shit. You want prosperity, you start pushing for freedom, capitalism, and you start running into resistance from those who don't want you to be free and don't want you to be prosperous. The anti-capitalists, the anti-freedom. Freedom is capitalism, folks. Justice is capitalism. Do we have true capitalism in this country? No, we do not. We have crony capitalism, aka fascism, where people who are powerful use the government to make sure that they have little to no competition. And the government in turn benefits from those, shall we say, fascist corporations, which donate large amounts of money to said government to help ensure that their business alliances are terrific. So they go hand in hand, which is why no government official should be able to take any money from any corporation. There should not be, in my opinion, political action committees. There shouldn't be any funding that comes from a corporation. Political action committee. How about the people wanting to join together to form a union to influence government? How's that working for you right now? You see, if these systems were truly good for freedom, liberty, and real capitalism, we would have more freedom, liberty, and true capitalism. But these systems are not working in our favor. Instead, they're working in the favor of government officials who are enriching themselves at our cost. And corporations are benefiting themselves at our cost. So clearly, the systems we have in place are anti-capitalist and anti-freedom and anti-prosperity. Are they not? Right? That's the measuring stick that I use. Now, you can argue philosophical semantics, right? You could play with Merriam's dictionary or Black's Law dictionary, and you have some fun in there, right? But when you really look at it, what creates prosperity? Liberty, because you're not being interfered with. And justice and equality keeps others from using, shall we say, undue restraint and power against their competitors. When you remove the competitive edge, right, by allowing one corporation or even a rich individual to harm others, right, to create unfair trade practices. It used to be called predatory behavior in corporations, right? It used to be illegal. That's where these antitrust laws came from. We're closing in on the end of the show. Jolene, who do we have next? Chin Music checks in. Hey, bro, he says, Sven, sorry I missed the zoo. Hey, man, no one's called me Sven in a long time. Interesting that you would choose that name. He used to be called Sven a lot. He says, had to support the parasites, which is why we can't get away from them. They require a host. We would gladly let them go, however. The zoo was rough, man. We were on John the Prepared Mind on YouTube side. Had to support the parasites. I don't know who the parasites are, man. Parasites, football, baseball, basketball. Who are the parasites? Anyways, we can't get away from them. It's hard. Parasites, they dig in. Whew, they do require a host. So Uman says, David Clinton, breaking metal factory in Bedford, Ohio. Explosion just happened an hour ago. So far, a dozen burn victims reported. Thank you for putting that up there. Company manufactures brass and bronze alloys. Crazy, wild stuff there. More explosions. No further reports or other injuries or deaths. I mean, things happen all the time. They do. Nobody likes it. Nobody likes it. The priest, the archbishop, who was murdered. The suspect has been identified as the husband of the bishop's employee. And the parade continues. Wow. There's just, as soon as you turn your back on the news, it continues. These people, they're all just in it for themselves, folks. They're all in it for themselves. Unbelievable. The news just continues and piles on. Let's do some more. Who is next? Mikey G says, more for Ukraine and none for Ohio. What's the difference between Russia bombing a city or a country, or explosions occurring in factories and trains and trucks and food farms? Right? What's the difference? Well, one has an overt enemy and the other one has a secret and clandestine enemy. I'm just not a big believer in coincidences, but conspiracies, folks, actually take a lot of evidence. So I'm always on the lookout. And I don't know what's going on in Ohio. I don't know what's going on in Ohio, except Ohio, folks, used to be a massive industrial powerhouse of a state. Is it that way anymore? It's a big question to ask. America used to be just the land of prosperity, right? Factories, production, creation, wealth, working hard, freedom, liberty. Yeah. I don't know what it is anymore. All right. Thank you very much for the update on what's happening. Jolene, we got Charles Gentry. He says, oh, here we go. Great topics again, Charles. How much Amish farmland is going to be contaminated from the train wreck? I don't know. I don't know. I don't trust what is happening to be beneficial for America. Train wrecks are not beneficial. Train wrecks aren't beneficial. How much Amish farmland is going to be owned by attorneys by the time all of this is over? Anyways, Charles, we're going to have to keep an eye on this. I want to see exactly what is going to happen to this contaminated land. I remember them calling it America's Chernobyl. Now, what did they do in Chernobyl? Well, after the nuclear accident was done, they just said, nobody can live here. It's too dangerous. Everyone out. Get away. Are they going to do the same in Ohio, New Palestine? Are they going to do the same? Are they going to kick people out and say it's just too dangerous to live there? Sorry. We're going to have to close Ohio now for the next 500 years. We're going to find out. Is this their way to contaminate the Amish since they refuse to take the Jim Jones juice? I don't know. I don't know. Okay, are we wrapping it up? Have we finished, everybody? It's Greg Madare. He says, hey, read that Idaho is trying to pass legislation making the new gene therapy Jim Jones juice illegal. Hey, Greg, I think I covered that just the other night. Yeah, they're trying to do that. They're trying to say it's dangerous. It's untested. That the evidence is that it causes problems. There's no evidence supporting that it works. It's completely experimental. Danger, danger, danger. Let's do it, Jolene. One more. Let's do it. Mr. X checks in and says, John, we just need to know the truth. It's about time the government start telling the truth. The people need to know. Mr. X, you are absolutely correct. The people deserve the truth. The truth will set you free, they say. Well, the liars are in charge, and the truth is their enemy, even though it's our ally. And if they want to maintain their control, their power over us, then they can't give us the truth. They can't let the facts out of the bag. That's why they have to silence you and silence me so we can't be heard, so that our voices are squashed. They have to call us names and say we're deniers. You know, believe the science, trust the science. Yeah, trust Fauci, really? Right? Can't believe unless you're an expert. And then the expert has to be sanctioned. And the expert has to pass the political sniff test. In other words, the truth can't be allowed because the truth does set people free. The truth exposes the lie and the liar. Get prepared, folks. And thank you right here for joining $2 a month on the preparedmind.club to support this channel. They don't want it. They don't want us doing research. They don't want us able to spend our time. They don't want us subscribing to news and other types of networks to get information. They don't want that. They want you to be in your home, ignorant as fuck, and weakened and sick because you keep listening to them and drinking their bitter pill, their bitter drinks, their bitter water. They want you to take their bitter medicines that make you sick. And then they say, oh man, you're sick. You better take more of our medicine. You better swallow more of our lies. And here we are. Are we better off today than we were 20 years ago, 30 years ago, 40 years ago? Are we freer or less free? Are we richer as individuals, as families, or are we, no, we're losing that game. While the rich get richer, the poor get screwed over, right? While the rich have more liberties and more control, we, the people, have less. This always, always, always results in two things. One of two things. One, it results in an absolute economic collapse of the system, or the other thing that it results in is a revolution, a revolt by the people against those who claim to be their lords and masters, who ultimately punish the people so badly that they have no choice but to violently remove those in charge and cut off their heads or hang them with ropes. Unbelievable. Unbelievable, folks. I want to thank you for doing all that you do to help this network exist, survive, and thrive. Share that internet address right up there so that other people can wake up and see the truth as well. Hear the truth and free themselves, or start to free themselves, because it is a process. You have to unlearn that which you have been programmed with. You have to deprogram the indoctrination. Chance favors the prepared mind, is yours. Godspeed, Semper Fi, and chance favors the prepared mind.